good, and we decided really to, let's do a part two, and that's what we're doing. So I wanted to, Michael, I wanted to give you as much time as possible.
All right.
So again, if we go over, I'll probably come back on and close it. And then if we need to stay a little bit later, we can do that as well. But Michael, thank you so much for being part of what we're doing here at Ignite, and thank you for I don't know, just your heart, man. Just to be able to. I love what you're doing, but it's the same thing, Michael. You're taking good leaders and making them great leaders, and I appreciate everything, your leadership and everything that you bring to this. So, with that, I'm just going to give it over to you, my friend.
Well, thank you. I'm going to share my screen and to make sure that actually works, apparently. Hopefully it is. And I want to acknowledge everybody. Thank you for being here on this. I've got a couple of invited guests. Uchenna, good to see you, brother. And Connie Bateman, good to see you, and others. So glad you guys are on the call. I'm going to get going and open up my PowerPoint and get going. You know, this is something that is really, it really riveted me when I saw this, when I had the concept that Jesus, who was born in a manger, oh, little town of Bethlehem, and then they moved over to Egypt, you know, to escape Herod and all that kind of stuff. And then he comes back and they move to this little town, a no-count town called Nazareth, that they said, can anything good come out of Nazareth? And he grew up there. And if you can put yourself back in time 2,000 years and you think about this, and he's basically, you could say, a blue-collar worker, and he's working in whatever it was, carpentry, whatever, he was doing that. And he went from that level of obscurity to the most influential figure in human history. And so it got me thinking, how did that happen? It wasn't a cosmic accident. There was a way that it happened. And so I studied that with a lot of intensity. And for a quick recap, for those of you who weren't here last month or like a quick recap, the first 4 of the 8 things that I'm going to be highlighting is strategy number 1 is you have to have your unshakable why. It's the compass that never fails. Jesus said in Luke 2:49 that he was about his Father's business. Luke 19, he came to seek and to save that which was lost. Jesus' life was guided by divine purpose. So if you're thinking, how do I get a position of influence in the marketplace? You need to understand what's your why. What's that thing that God put in you uniquely? As Psalm 33 specifically says that he crafted your heart individually. So what is that thing? Number 2, strategy is go deep and then go wide. In other words, start in your own backyard first, because Jesus began locally. Galilee, Judea, he invested deeply in his disciples. The initial focus was on the lost sheep of Israel, and he ministered throughout Galilee first. And there's a whole lot of meaning and value in understanding Matthew 4:23, but you'll have to go back and catch that if you want to. But the idea is, if I want to get influence, I need to go deep and then go wide. People try to go wide first and make a big splash, and they don't go very deep. And I have experience in that. It doesn't work very well unless you have a huge deep pockets. Strategy number 3, dare to be different, not just a little bit better. That was one of the things that was about Jesus, was he was much different. He wasn't just a slightly improved version of a Pharisee. He was totally different. The crowds were amazed. He spoke with authority. He was not like the scribes, and he had parables that turned wisdom on its head. So if you're looking about how do I get a position of influence, what's your why? Go deep then wide. Dare to be different. And number 4, he gave a personal invitation. Come follow me. I'll make you fishers of men. There was a personal connection that he made with key people, which you see in Matthew 4:19. So part of this thing was like, initially, is it getting any traction? He knew why he was there, and he started locally. He was different. And then, he started to say, well, come follow me. But then we get into what follows next. That's basically what we covered last month. This month, I'm going to get to the last 4 strategies that I observed. And it's strategy number 5 is a simple truth powerfully told. And that's one of the things that you can get. And I've always been amazed with how Jesus did what he did. And you have to ask yourself this, because people do this. I've done it. They want to dazzle sometimes with complexity, but it's better to illuminate with clarity. And Jesus had an incredible knack for taking the most profound spiritual truths and making them accessible, making them understandable, unforgettable. Oftentimes, they're very simple stories, vivid analogies, and clear, direct statements. So that was his mode, if you will. He said nothing to them without a parable. And there was lots of parables. Truth sticks when shared simply and memorably. And profound truths become accessible and unforgettable through simplicity. So the entrepreneurial principle is this: if they cannot repeat it, they cannot spread it. Simplify your core message. And sometimes we get so wrapped up in this thing that it's just this big convoluted thing. If somebody can't repeat it, they can't spread it. And so Jesus was a master at what he did in that regards. And so there's turn a key business concept into a simple story or one-liner. You want to have clarity and memorability. And if you can have those two things, something clear and something memorable, you will have lasting impact. There are memorable phrases that Jesus made that, like, love your neighbor, right? Ask and it will be given to you. He taught in a way that resonated with absolutely everyone, from the learned Pharisees to the humble fishermen. They were ingeniously crafted narratives that took everyday realities from farming, fishing, family relationships, lost sheep, hidden treasures, whatever it was, and he used them to unlock deep spiritual truths. You know them. You know the parable of the sower, a simple story about farming that reveals profound truths about how people receive God's word. You know about the parable of the Good Samaritan, story that redefined neighbor in a way that no legalistic argument could ever do. You know the story of the parable of the prodigal son, a heart-wrenching, beautiful depiction of God's unconditional love and forgiveness. And here's the thing: people could remember those things and they could retell them. This is it. Sometimes, I hear something, man, that was great. And I try to tell my wife, I think, well, I really can't put it there. It was very big. It was, no, if you can compress it and say it simply so people can retell it and let them wrestle with the meaning long after you moved on, that's a good thing. He used memorable phrases and clear commands. Like I said, love your neighbor was one. Do unto others what you would have them do to you, which was Southwest Airlines' motto for decades. I don't know if it still is, but that was. Ask and it'll be given to you. Seek and you will find. That's something people remember. It's simple. It's direct. It's unforgettable. People cannot act on what they don't understand, and they won't remember what's too convoluted to grasp. This whole idea of simple truth powerfully told is so important. Simplicity, when it conveys profound truth, isn't dumbing things down. It's opening things up for everyone. So, for example, my business, I wrote a book. I did a magazine article which became the name of a radio program, which became a book called Selling Among Wolves Without Joining the Pack. And it was something that everybody remembered the name of that. They go, oh yeah, it's kind of memorable, and they get it. We remember things like E = MC squared. Remember things like no taxation without representation, or just do it from Nike, or less is more. What gets measured gets managed by Peter Drucker. Fail fast, learn faster. Silicon Valley startup culture says that. But these are things that if you can say, how do I boil it down into simplicity in a way that's not only simple and clear, but easy to remember, like memorable. So are you speaking their language or just yours? The entrepreneurial principle is this: people cannot act on what they don't understand. They cannot act on what they don't understand. And we ask them sometimes to take action before they understand. And understanding really is a function of the heart. It is a function of the mind, but it's a function of the heart. Understanding is where emotions take place, and they have to kind of get it in there. And simplicity opens things up. The practical application is what's called the grandma test. Find your signature stories, analogies, and develop memorable sound bites, and use visuals. Excuse me. Can you explain your core business idea, your unique value proposition, or your key message to your grandmother or someone completely outside your industry. When I say grandmother, it's not in any way to say something bad about grandma. I'm a grandparent myself. It's like somebody who's just outside of what you do. Can you explain to them in a way that they would understand and also find interesting? And if not, then simplify it. You want to find your signature stories. What are the 2 to 3 core stories or analogies that perfectly illustrate what you do and why it matters? And practice telling those stories. I have been, even though I've been doing this for so long, I continuously get updated and I hear about or I learn something more about the power of stories. And so if you can find what are these stories that are going to make these key points that I need to make regarding my business, and get good at telling those stories in short sound bites. And so you could say, what's your core message in one simple sentence? What's your go-to story? What's your analogy? I work with companies and I say, here's what you do, technology companies, for example. And I say, okay, well, that's great what your product does, but people aren't going to get that very readily. So let's come up with an analogy that they can relate to. And when they come up with the analogy, it changes everything. You want to develop memorable sound bites. What are the key phrases, or what are the hooks, they call it? And then encapsulate your most important ideas. Those are like think of it like the headline for your message. And then if you can, use visuals. I remember when this goes back to 1994, so 31 years ago, I had one of my sales guys, had my own business. It was basically sales training. And I had my sales guy call on a $7 million a year company and, offer to train their sales force. And it was going to be a 1-day training. Just come in for a day and it was going to be $4,000. And they turned us down. And they said, but I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll send one of our guys to a seminar you're doing for somebody else for basically $400 because he had 10 sales guys. So he figured it was $400 a pop. I'll send one of them. And if they come back, and they've learned something and and their sales go up, then we'll bring you into the whole company. What I said then to my sales guy, I said, you know what? There's a lack of connection there. I said, so what we need to do is double our price, provide more value, and go back. And I hired an artist, a graphic artist. This is before PowerPoint, or before I knew about PowerPoint. And I had a slide made, and I had used an apple tree and a bunch of different illustrations. And I hired him, and I got a projector, did the whole thing. And I went back and I used a visual, a very simple visual. And instead of doing a $4,000 1-day thing, I said, we'll do something for $60,000. It was $5,000 a month, and there was no time commitment, but it would about increase their sales, and we would get paid on a percentage of the increase, 10% of the increased revenue, which they agreed to, by the way. But what I did was I found a way to create a visual that told the story, and it was a simple apple tree. And when I shared the story with them, this hypothetical story, and I said, look, we'll work with you all year. You got $7 million right now, so we'll pretend those are 7 million apples. I'll work with you all year to pick up those 7 million apples and put them in baskets. And every one of those apples that we pick up, I don't get a bite of it. But every apple after 7 million, I get 1 bite, 10%. And I figured we hit 8 million, 9 million, whatever it was, had a goal. And ultimately they agreed to that. I had to spot them an extra $1 million, but anyway, it still worked out and I got well paid. But the thing is, I showed the apple tree, I showed the basket, I did a graphic, I told a story, and they signed on for far more than they originally turned down. So stories are a good thing to have. There was a tech company I was aware of that they had great marketing, but it had a lot of tech specs. When they took that out of it and started talking about what it enabled businesses to do, save time, reduce frustration, delight customers, it went like crazy. They created simple analogies. They focused on the human impact. People suddenly got it. And that's what you want. You want people to get it. They want people to get your message. And a lot of times we get so caught up in our thing because we get it, we understand it so well that we forget that they're not there, and we've got to bring them along the continuum to get to that point. So this was strategy number 5. It's simple and impactful, powerfully told. That's basically it. The next strategy, number 6, this one is really, really, really big shoe. This is transformation, not transaction. How do we do that? What does that look like? The key idea is that transformation forges unbreakable loyalty and impact. And to genuinely better your audience or improve them, you aim to do that. Lasting impact comes from facilitating real, meaningful change. Here's the biblical foundation. Think about Zacchaeus in Luke 19, the woman at the well in John 4, the demoniac in Mark 5. These were encounters that remade people. Let me give you an example. Zacchaeus, the tax collector. He was a man that was despised. Who likes the tax guy? Somebody from the IRS? Oh, come on in, have some coffee. No, not likely. They're despised in those days for his greed and corruption. But after an encounter with Jesus and a shared meal, Zacchaeus was radically changed, promising to give half of his possessions to the poor and pay back anyone he cheated 4 times over. That, my friends, is not just a change of behavior. It's a change of heart. It was transformation. The woman at the well, she was an outcast, living a life of shame and broken relationships, and Jesus sees her. He speaks to her deepest needs, and he offers her living water. And she leaves her water jar behind. She runs to town, becomes an evangelist, telling everyone, come and see a man who told me everything I ever did. There was this, she just did a 180 transformation. The demoniac of Gadara, a man tormented, living among tombs, uncontrollable. Jesus sets him free, and the man, now dressed and in his right mind, begs to go with Jesus. But instead, Jesus sends him home to tell his people how much the Lord had done for him. His life was utterly and instantly transformed, and he became a testament to that change. So the core truth here is that transformation forges unbreakable loyalty and impact. So scripture in John 8:11, go and from now on sin no more. This is a focus on life change. The key idea, entrepreneurial principle, is people pay for outcomes, so deliver tangible transformation. What you want to do is you want to be able to bring that level of transformation to them. Define for them what X is, like what's the before to the after, if you will, which I'll get to in just a minute. When your primary aim is to genuinely transform your customers, your clients, or your audience for the better, transform their experience or transform them, transform their relationship, whatever it is, you move beyond mere business and into the realm of creating true and lasting impact. I'm having conversations with a couple of folks that are on this call, and what I sense from you gentlemen is like, hey, I can transform the way your business functions. I can transform the way you interact with your people. And it's not just a transaction, but there's transformation, which changes my experience, which I highly, highly value. So you want to say, well, what's the after picture that you're painting? So the entrepreneurial principle is this: you want to focus on the transformation you offer, not just the sale. How will lives and businesses be better? I had a friend who said, I want to go for the relationship before the transaction. And he told me a deal where he was closing a real estate deal, and it was a flip, and it was commercial property. And in that flip, he was going to make something in the neighborhood of $10 million at the closing table. He was buying it from a farmer, from a rancher who'd been in his family for years, some property, and it was going to be put onto, I think a Home Depot or something like that. And he had the buyer at the closing table. And so I'm making up the numbers, but it was something like, I'm buying it for $3 million, I'm selling it for $13 million. And he was going to make $10 million at the closing table. And this guy, in his early 30s, a very good friend of mine, said to the attorney for the seller, because the seller himself was not there, he said, that property's been in your family for decades, for 2 or 3 generations. I'm going to own that property for a matter of minutes, and I'm going to make $10 million, and you're selling it for $3 million. How about we split the $10 million? In other words, I'll give you 8 instead of 3. Now, my friend came from a ranching background. He knew what was involved in that. He was focused on the relationship. Interestingly, the rancher, salt of the earth guy, said, I mean, when my friend made that offer, both attorneys like, what are you doing? The one representing the seller called the seller right away. Said, hey, he wants to change the numbers and you pick up an extra $5 million. And the seller said, no, we had a deal, and a deal's a deal. I gave him my word, and he turned him down. And my friend made the money. But I always remember he said, I'm focused on not the transaction, I'm focused on the relationship first, which I think is very important. You want to map the transformation journey. You want to focus on outcomes, gather and share transformation stories, and build in support for the journey. What's the fundamental transformation you offer? How can you focus more on this? I think about Dennis Fedoruk in his warehousing business. What he can do for your business, what he can do for my business, is he can make my life a whole lot easier. A whole lot easier, and transform it into something smooth and take headaches off of my table, off of my plate. I think about Dana and Convene. And once I get my head inside that technical world, he's going to make my world beautiful. And I'll feel like I have my own ecosystem to invite people in where they can come in. It's like a getaway place where they can really dig deep and learn the things of God. And so some of you men that I know your stories have got some pretty profound things there. But when you're going to focus on transformation, it means to deeply understand the before state of your audience. What are their pains? What are their frustrations? What are their unfulfilled desires? And if you don't know what those things are, you need to ask. And if you have a good idea what they are, you should put the answer inside the question. There's a questioning strategy I teach at the Jesus School that does exactly that. Having a clear vision for their after state. What does success, what does relief, what does joy, what does fulfillment look like for them? And how do you help them get there? And paint that picture visually, linguistically, every way you know how. Designing your offerings not just to solve a surface problem, but to facilitate a deeper change and caring about their long-term success and well-being, not just the immediate sale. So, on a practical level, map the transformation journey. For your ideal customer, what are the key steps? What are the stages in their journey from their current pain or problem to their desired outcome? And how does your offering support each stage? Like, what do they have to go through to get from where they are to where you're going? What do those steps look like? Make it clear. Focus on the outcome, not just the features. In other words, instead of just listing what your product does, passionately communicate what it enables people to become or achieve. When I think about the two gentlemen I've mentioned and the services that they offer, it allows me to have more freedom to pursue the passion that God has given me. And I get to spend more time with the Lord, less time on minutia that I don't want to deal with. And I become more of the man that I believe God made me to be. And they've helped me understand that, by the way. Gather and share transformation stories. Testimonials are good. Stories of genuine life or business transformation are pure gold. Actively collect them and share them with permission, of course. And then build in support for the journey. Transformation rarely happens overnight. It can, but it rarely does. How can you support your customers after the initial transaction to make sure that they achieve their desired results? In my case, we can do it through community, which of course, what Dana has that. Community, coaching, ongoing resources. That's what I offer, those kinds of things. But what are the things that you can do to help them on the process of transformation? In my world, I'm not trying to sell a training product. I want to bring transformation. And I recognize it takes time and it takes certain things. And we're building the infrastructure to support that. Strategy number 7, changed lives, social proof. Who's telling your story? Speaking of that, when I met Craig and Desiree, and I heard the men and women at the first meeting I went to, the retreat. I was very heartened and delighted and encouraged by the transformational stories I heard of people who were saying, you know, I didn't think I had time for this. I don't know how I could make it. It's just too whatever. And they came anyways, and they're always so grateful. And I've seen that with Ignite. I've heard the testimonials from the men and women in the group who talk about it with high praise. So if you're not in that, I highly encourage you to learn more and get involved. But who's telling your story? The unmistakable power of testimony. The key idea here is authentic stories of changed lives spread faster than mere claims. Biblical foundation: was the man freed from demons? Jesus said, go and tell. The blind man given sight, the Samaritan woman, you know, the blind man that was freed from demons. He was tormented. Remember that? Jesus healed him. The man begged, hey, can I go with you? And Jesus said, no, no, no. Go home to your own people and tell them how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. This is social proof. 2,000 years ago. And the man went away and began to tell in Decapolis how much Jesus had done for him. And all the people were amazed. You hear that? And listen, this is the power of a changed life and social proof. Guy says, hey, can I go work for you? I want to leave these people behind. I want to come with you. And he sends them back. He says, no, go and tell them. And look at the effect it had. Or take a look at the blind man given sight in John 9. His healing caused a massive stir. He was interrogated by the skeptical Pharisees. And his simple, powerful testimony was, one thing I know, I was blind, but now I see. His changed life was undeniable proof that something extraordinary had happened, and it challenged the prevailing narratives. This man he couldn't explain how it happened. He couldn't explain the science behind it. He couldn't explain the degrees or whatever Jesus, may or may not have had. He didn't know any of that. All he knew was, I was blind and now I see. And the power of that testimony was extraordinary. The Samaritan woman, think about that. After her encounter with Jesus, she left her water jar. She went back to town and she said to the people, come, see a man who told me everything I ever did. Could this be the Messiah? And what was the result of that? Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. Her story sparked a wave of belief. Many Samaritans believed in him because of the woman's testimony, it says. So let your satisfied clients preach, encourage, and amplify their stories. Systematically collect and showcase customer testimonials. Jesus understood that a life visibly transformed by truth and power is a far more potent witness than 1,000 eloquent sermons without proof. So listen, changed lives and shared experiences create irresistible momentum. So what you need to do, and if we were having a lot of time together, we would say, okay, let's stop. Let's talk about this. How are we going to do it? We go through the room and doing all that. This is actually a workshop, but I'm giving you the highlights. If anybody wants, I can provide a full copy of this. The whole book I wrote about this, if anybody wants that. So letting your changed lives do the talking. The entrepreneurial principle is this. Let authentic impact speak for itself. Showcase real-world results. The practical application. Deliver exceptional value first. Deliver exceptional value first. Then ask for feedback and stories and showcase them with permission. Encourage online reviews. Foster community. And then ask this question. How loud is the chorus of your satisfied customers? How can you amplify their stories? I'll give you an example. Some of you know I did an interview with a Stronger Faith Ministries. And then they said, you can copy it and put it on your YouTube channel, which I did. And I checked this morning, and between my website and theirs, my YouTube and their YouTube, almost 250,000, 230-something thousand people have viewed that. It's like, oh my goodness. How do you amplify that story? Well, it was originally on their channel. My channel only had like 1,400 and something subscribers, and now that's blowing up. But I took it and I said, okay, well, let me put it over here. And then I said, oh, let me do this and let me do this. And now we're doing a whole series on, you can go to supernaturalbusiness.com. I do free classes now on Thursday nights, the first and third of every month. But it's like I'm trying to amplify the message that God himself is um, amplifying. He also amplified it. So the software that spread through like wildfire through word of mouth. The Dropbox is one, Slack was one. But here's the thing. You got to deliver exceptional value that creates those positive stories in the first place. This is a non-negotiable. That's number one. You got to make it easy for satisfied customers to share their experiences. You got to highlight specific, relatable stories rather than just generic praise. Like, oh, they're wonderful. Nicest guys you ever want. The more specific the stories can be, the better it is for everybody. Building a community. This is Dana's specialty with Convene. Building a community where people can share their positive experiences with each other. That's what Ignite is doing. They're now inside the Convene thing, and that has made a whole world of community available that didn't used to be available. Looking for ways to demonstrate broader positive sentiment, like maybe some reviews, case studies, user growth, endorsements, especially endorsements from respected figures. Ask for feedback and stories, and do that systematically. Do it like with a plan. Don't just hope people will share or create, a story. You want to invite them into it. Create a simple process for them to do that. And then showcase them with their permission. And encourage, where possible, where it makes sense, online reviews. And lastly, foster a community. Can you create a Facebook group? Well, right now, I'm telling you, if you get inside Convene, it's all taken care of. You got a group, you got a community, you got a forum, you got regular meetups, you got everything inside that. I'm looking forward to being part of that. Strategy number 8 is strategic scarcity. Now, this is something you got to listen very carefully and listen slow, and I'll slow it down because I don't want you to miss this. Strategic scarcity is not about playing hard to get. Strategic selectivity can enhance perceived value and focus. You want to steward your best offerings wisely. The biblical foundation is this. Jesus withdrew to pray in Mark 1, we see that. Withdrawing from the crowds that were wanting to make him the king in John 6. You don't want to put your pearls before swine in Matthew 7. There's something here where there's a place where you don't just throw everything you got in front of everybody that's out there. Perceived value can be enhanced by thoughtful limitation and focused attention. The entrepreneurial principle is this: ethical exclusivity and focused offerings can create value and demand. So you want to identify opportunities for strategic scarcity or selectivity in your offers. Now, what do I mean? There's this thing called diluting impact or enhancing value. You don't want to dilute your impact. It's about understanding that sometimes by being strategically less available in some ways, or more discerning about where you invest your deepest energies, you can actually increase your impact and increase the perceived value of what you offer. If you think about Jesus' ministry, was he available to every single person for every single demand at every single moment? His compassion, as we all know, was boundless, but his time and his energy on earth were finite. So he often withdrew to pray, even when crowds were seeking him. He focused intensely on his disciples. He didn't perform miracles on demand for those who were merely curious or seeking a sign for the wrong reasons. There was divine discernment, a strategic allocation of his presence and power. He would withdraw from the crowds. Some people will argue that at the pool of Bethesda, he healed one guy and not anybody else. We don't know that for a fact. It only mentions that he healed one, but we do know that he would selectively, he'd pull away and he would take his 12, he'd speak to them, or he'd take his 3. Peter, James, and John up to the Mount of Transfiguration, he'd give them something. There were certain times when he gave more to certain people who were willing to sacrifice more. Then there's the pearls before swine principle. This implies a discernment about where to invest your most precious offerings, because not everyone is ready, not everybody is willing to receive what you have, and sometimes pressing it upon them can be counterproductive. So I'm not going to try to put this out to everybody. This isn't about withholding good. Now listen carefully. It's about stewarding it wisely for maximum God-ordained impact. By being strategically selective about your time, about your deepest offerings, or even who you engage with at the most intensive level, at the deepest level, you can actually enhance the real and perceived value of what you offer and maintain focus on your core mission. When something is always available, easily obtained, or spread too thin, its perceived value can diminish. So, limited edition or mass commodity. The entrepreneurial principle is this: thoughtful limitation or focused availability can create a sense of preciousness and importance. I got to say that again. Thoughtful limitation or focused availability can create a sense of preciousness and importance. I'm going to be doing weekends with people a few times a year. Be a smaller group of people. It'll be a much bigger investment, but we get to put tremendous focus and on a few people to bring extraordinary value. And that's a good concept. Practical application: identify your pearls, define ideal recipients, create tiers of access, and learn how to say a gracious no or perhaps not now. So question to you: are you spreading your best offerings too thin? How could strategic selectivity serve your mission? There was a consultant who tripled her income by working with fewer but more committed clients. So it could look like this: offering premium limited access programs or services for those who are truly committed. We have a school, I have a school with a couple different levels, but I also have a premium level and a platinum level, which it goes a lot deeper. Sometimes it goes right on site on a company's location, and we get in and bring transformation to the entire corporate culture, specifically the revenue side. So we have different tiers. That's a normal thing, have different tiers. Being discerning about the clients or projects you take on, focusing on those where you can make the biggest impact. Why is that important? Because the bigger the impact you can make on somebody, the bigger the evangelist, the louder they're going to be for you. So you want to focus on those where you can make the biggest impact and that align with your core values. Not giving away all of your best content for free. It's good to give some good content for free. I do that on first and third Thursday nights, but reserving some for deeper engagement. And protecting your time and energy for your highest priority activities rather than being constantly reactive. Again, the motive here isn't arrogance, isn't artificial limitation. It's about wise stewardship so you can maximize true impact. So let's get practical. What are your pearls? What are your most valuable offerings? What are your deepest insights? What are your most time-sensitive, time-intensive services? Those things that take more of your time. What are those things? Those are your pearls. Next, define your ideal recipient or client for those pearls. Who's that person? Who will value that? Who is best equipped to receive, to appreciate, and to act upon your best work? Focus your efforts to reach them. Number 3, create tiers of access or engagement. You can still offer broad value to many, like Jesus teaching the crowds, but reserve your most intensive, your most personalized offerings for those who are ready for that deeper dive, like he did when he focused on his disciples. And then, of course, you got to say no sometimes, graciously. Not every opportunity is the right opportunity. Saying no to things that dilute your focus or drain your energy allow you to say a more powerful yes to what truly matters. Believe it or not, 5 years ago now, I think I got my timing right, I was asked to basically go on the circuit speaking for a company where I was told I would make minimum of $1 million a year doing that. They got people that make well over that in that position. And it was very tempting, right? I didn't have to run a company. I didn't have to do anything. All I had to do was show up and throw up. All I had to do was to speak in a very convincing way. And I turned it down, and they called me back and basically said, are you nuts? This is 7-figure income. This is going to be great for you. And I turned it down, and I turned it down because of what it was going to cost me. As it happens, I am gratefully and delightfully in love with my wife. And I knew that if I took this, I would see her on Christmas Day and maybe again on Valentine's Day or something like that. I would be working like 35 days a month. I'm obviously it's not really, but it was going to be crazy on the road all the time. And I thought about the wear and tear on the chicken and the wear and tear on the relationship and the trade. For me, it wasn't worth it. It just wasn't worth it. So I had to say no to something because it was going to drain my energy and would not allow me to focus on what I'm doing now, where I'm actually delivering what God has given me to an audience. And that's my hope. Timeless principles for impact. Your starting point does not determine your finish. In summary, we have, these are the 8 lessons: deep purpose, local depth. Let me talk about them. Deep purpose. You want to start with that unshakable God-given why. Anchor everything you do in purpose so compelling it pulls you forward. A mission that's about more than just the bottom line. Local depth. Go deep in your Galilee before you go wide. Cultivate those strong local roots. Build a tribe of loyal advocates in your initial niche before you try to conquer the world. Number 3, remarkable difference. Dare to be remarkably different, not just a bit better. Don't blend in. Stand out with an authentic uniqueness that's grounded in your core values and the distinct value that only you can bring. Number 4, relational invitations. The irresistible pull of a personal, relational invitation. Connect heart to heart. Invite people into your story and mission rather than just broadcasting at them. Number 5, simple, memorable truth. The genius of simple truth powerfully told. Cut through the noise. Communicate your core message with such clarity and simplicity that it sticks, that it inspires, and that it ultimately gets shared. Number 6, transformation focus. It's about transformation, not just transaction. That's where the magic happens. Aim for real, meaningful change. Deliver outcomes that genuinely better people's lives or businesses, and you'll build loyalty that money cannot buy. And number 7, testimony and social proof. Unleash the power of changed lives. These are your raving fans. Encourage and amplify their authentic stories that you have served well. Let their experiences build trust and credibility like nothing else can. And number 8, strategic scarcity, selectivity. The wisdom of that, the wisdom of strategic scarcity and selectivity. Steward your best gifts wisely. We all have limited time, limited strength, a lot of limits. They're there, that are real. Thoughtfully manage access to your deepest offerings to enhance value and create focused, impactful engagement, always with integrity. So your journey from obscurity to lasting impact. The key point here is your starting point does not define your destiny. You apply these principles with diligence and faith. It doesn't matter where you come from. It does not matter where you're going. So what's one significant shift? This is for you guys. What's one significant shift that you will commit to implementing this week? Because I want you to remember something. Jesus' journey from a carpenter's son in a forgotten corner of the world to the name above all names was not a cosmic accident. It was a path illuminated by unwavering purpose, radical authenticity, deep, genuine relationships, and an unyielding focus on transforming lives from the inside out. These aren't just lofty spiritual ideals that I've shared with you. They are rock solid. They are potent principles for building anything that you want to last, anything of true worth. The invitation is to draw daily inspiration from his methods, to courageously adapt these timeless principles to your unique situation, your God-sized vision, and the special calling he's placed on your life. So apply these lessons. Apply them with grit, with grace, with unwavering integrity, and with a whole lot of faith. And trust that when your actions are purposeful, when they are aligned with those sound kingdom principles, you absolutely can enjoy and you can journey from your own Nazareth to a place of incredible positive and lasting influence in the lives that you touch and the markets that you're called to serve. And so there is a prayer. The prayer goes like this for the entrepreneur. I like this. Lord, you are the ultimate source of all wisdom, creativity, and strength. As I build this venture, help me to serve with a crystal clear and unwavering purpose, to lead with both humility and holy boldness, and to influence every person I encounter with profound integrity and the experiential knowledge of your love. Lord, please help my business, the dream that you've planted in me. Become a beacon of light and a force for good, drawing others closer to you, the Father of lights, and help me to create genuine value, solve real problems, and make a tangible, positive impact on the world that you so love. And grant me the wisdom to apply these timeless principles day by day, the perseverance to navigate these challenges with grace, and the joy of building something truly meaningful, something that honors you. Your next move. Knowledge becomes power only when applied. The crucial question is, what's the one significant shift that you will commit to implementing consistently in your entrepreneurial adventure starting this week? And one last thing I have to share with you, I didn't even realize it until this afternoon or earlier today, this morning, I guess, is that tonight you're invited. I'm doing it was scheduled a month ago, but tonight I'm doing the Jesus School of Business Discovery webinar at 8 p.m. Eastern. And so you're welcome to join me. Go to supernaturalbusiness.com/JSB. And if anybody wants the book on influence, it's a digital book. Email me or ask Craig for it. Do something. Reach out. I can be reached at michael@michaelpink.com. There's a variety of ways, but I want to make sure you get it. If you want the book about this that goes into a lot of detail, I'll happily provide that free of charge. Just reach out and let me know. So that, my friends, is it. I think I kept it in the time frame. I hope I did what you asked me to do, my brother. I'm done with that, and it really needs to be taken from there. And I turn it back over to you, Craig.
Michael.
Michael, let me jump in just real quick. I got to tell you, this is such an amazing answer to prayer for me. In the middle of the night, I hate to say it, but like 2:45 till about 5 a.m., I'm up, I'm praying because I can't sleep. And I'm praying, and I'm saying, Lord, isn't there wisdom you can provide for me out of the word about running business with your vision, with your wisdom? And when you said, this was the message of Christ, when you shared this, it was kind of like, duh, I've only been around for 66 years. Why had I never once thought of the fact that God had a vision, a mission, and a plan, and he was going to use the absolute best way to communicate the value through Jesus and what he did.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but I am not worthy to be in your presence because I'm such a doofus.
Hey, let me just say this in defense, and I say this with all sincerity. Anything good that you see from me, it is the light of Jesus shining through. Because in and of myself, I can't do anything. But I've seen him, and I try to share that. So thank you very much, Dana. But ultimately, that anything good is from there. But thank you.
I'm going to have, we got time for just a couple of questions, but Ben, can you put in there, Michael, I want people to know where to go for your thing tonight. What was that again?
supernaturalbusiness.com/JSB, stands for Jesus School of Business. Tonight I'm actually talking about the school. Thursday nights I teach. Tuesday night I talk about the school. What it is at 8 p.m. Eastern. We're not on Central Time out here in Florida, in my part of Florida. So 8 p.m. Eastern tonight. And it's a discovery webinar. And it's going to be awesome. I'm going to touch on, believe it or not, I try not to do it, but I do a little bit of teaching. And it's going to happen tonight because I was hit with the scripture that Jesus said. He asked a question about people. And he said to them after the resurrection, he said, how is it like that doubt arises in your heart? And he says, why does doubt arise in your heart? Why do these doubts arise in your heart? And I realized something, gentlemen. I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to look all of you in the eyes best I can, every single one of you, because I don't think there's any exceptions. Thank you, Jerry. I don't think there's any exceptions. And if there are, you can say it right now. But all of us have doubts. And those doubts, if we're honest, I think we doubt ourselves. Like, am I really doing it right? Is this really the right thing? Is this really the right time? Is this, am I on track? We have moments when doubt comes, not about our salvation, hopefully, but about the calling and am I pursuing the right thing and am I doing it the right way? And then we have these doubts, and Jesus says, why do doubts arise in your heart? And I'm going to touch on that just a little bit tonight because I found the solution simply by studying the life of Jesus that does two things. Number one, how to demolish that. And number two, how to make sure it doesn't come back. Now, I won't go into depth on that tonight. That'll be for a week from Thursday when we do the Supernatural Business School. But hey, Connie, I see you off camera. There you go. That's something that, let me just ask a question. I haven't done a big survey, but I think there's this, sometimes they call it, what's the term? Imposter syndrome. Does anybody know what I'm talking about here? Is it just me? You guys know? Let me see some, you get it? You don't get it? Okay. And there's times when you think, oh, I hope this is going to work. I hope this investment of time, getting 50,000 square feet of warehouse space, Dennis, new warehouse space, moving this, like Dennis, you had to go through that, right? You moved into this thing and it's like, it's a huge, momentous move you made. Like, I hope to God it works. And at times when you were having those challenges, I'm guessing you were thinking, I sure hope it does. Right? Hey, Eric, good to see you, brother. And so when I was looking at that and thinking, how could they doubt they have all the miracles, everything else? He personalized that to me. And I realized that, yeah, I get those moments and I knew exactly what to do. And not too many people do. And I'll touch on it tonight and then I'll hit it out of the park a week from Thursday. But tonight is about the school, what it's really about. And because people have vision, they have all this vision. They want to do all these wonderful things, but they don't know how to do, they don't know, they don't have a biblical model for stuff. They don't know the natural laws of success very well. And they need help. I need it. You need it. So that's what tonight's about. We're going to share that 8 o'clock Eastern. Go to supernaturalbusiness.com/JSB.
And Ben has that in the chat. And guys, don't worry about hey, is this part of it doesn't, listen. I want people to be able to reach out to you as well. Michael, what was your, I know the School of Business was on that, but what was the other way they can get a hold of you as well?
The simplest way is if you go to supernaturalbusiness.com and register, your name will be in my database. That's one thing. But number two, you can email me. The best email is just a little harder to say. It's the letter M for Michael, Pink, mpink @michaelpink.com. And let me know, because I think I saw somebody said, yeah, hey, I'd like, I think it was Felicia. I don't know if I see you, Felicia, but I saw a thing say, hey, I would like there you are. If you want that, Desiree, thank you, Desiree. That's Michael @michaelpink as well. I don't use that one as often, but it works. Email me and say, can I have a copy of the Influence book? Yeah. And it's a digital thing, and it goes into a lot more detail than I could do in these 45 minutes I had with you guys today.
So soon, basically, there's you're going to be able to see all of the things that Michael is doing and providing right on the Ignite platform as well. That's going to be happening really soon. So guys, we're blessed. We're blessed, Michael, to have you part of this team. You're an answer to prayer. And guys, I know we're past here, so if you have to jump, go ahead and jump. But I just wanted to open it up for at least one question. Does someone have a question that says burning that they need to take themselves off of mute and ask real quick?
Question, comment, anything at all? I'm here. I'm suspending my regular billing rate for this conversation.
Just so thankful, Michael. We just appreciate and love you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. My brain was that you, Jerry?
That was Dennis.
That was Dennis.
That was me.
Okay, I was looking for the moving head. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you. Appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, I was just thumbs up afterwards.
Okay.
Thumbs up next.
Thank you.
Hey, Dennis, since you got all the shout outs, since you paid Michael to give a little ad, can you close us out in a word of prayer, my friend?
Absolutely. Thank you, God. We honor you today, God. Thank you so much. This is so exciting. Thank you, Lord, for putting Michael in our path and the wisdom that you've given him and he has imparted into us. And we just pray, Father, that you would just help us to activate this and help us to implement this in our lives, our family, and our businesses. And we just thank you for continued success for all of us in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Guys,
Amen.
jump on with Michael Pink tonight. Remember, next month we're live with Lance Wallnow, so tell others about that as well. And guys, you're awesome. Remember, your best days are yet to come. Thank you, Michael Pink.
Thank you, guys. God bless everybody.
All
Appreciate
right,
it.
be
Nice to see
blessed,
you all.
guys.
Shout out to everybody.
All righty, take
All
care.
right. Love you guys.